The content provided in this video and on our website is for informational and educational purposes only. It is not intended as, and translates to, legal advice, professional instruction, or management direction. CamWise is not acting as your legal counsel, or assuming liability for actions taken based on this content. For specific legal interpretations of your association's CC&RS and state laws, always consult a qualified attorney.
Look at a typical suburban neighborhood at dawn. It feels peaceful, sleepy even, but beneath the quiet cul-de-sac streets is a massive financial operation. Running for an HOA board means stepping into a formal, legal trusteeship. It is a transition from being a passive resident to being a governor of the association's assets and legal liabilities. You take on what the law calls a fiduciary duty. You are legally obligated to manage a multi-million-dollar nonprofit entity, its cash reserves, and its physical assets. That brings us to a stark choice. Is the power to protect the value of your largest personal investment worth the grueling hours and the inevitable friction with your neighbors? To answer that, we have to strip away the petty neighborhood politics. We're going to look objectively at the 4 non-negotiable trade-offs you have to accept to do this job right. Acknowledging these legal and social realities right now is the only reliable way to avoid personal burnout and keep your community out of the courtroom. Let's map out what a board member actually does, weighing the personal sacrifice required against the real structural value it provides your community. This chart breaks it down. On the bottom axis, we have the amount of personal sacrifice and social friction a task requires. Going up the vertical axis, we have the actual protection it offers to your community's assets. Easy, harmless tasks like picking flower colors sit right here in the bottom left. They take 0 effort and cause 0 arguments, but they provide almost 0 structural value to the association. Over on the bottom right is the danger zone. This is where you try to fix a personal pet peeve. It creates massive drama with your neighbors while completely failing to protect the community's bottom line. The top right is where the actual job happens. Enforcing rules, finding neighbors, and reviewing dense financial reports take immense effort and thick skin, but these actions actively protect the entity. To lead effectively, you have to permanently leave those comfortable, low-friction areas behind and operate entirely in this high sacrifice zone. Let's examine exactly what it takes to survive in that high sacrifice quadrant, starting with what state laws call your duty of care. This table lays out the reality check for board governance, the input required, the outcome, and the trade-off. The input is grueling, spending hours every month reading financial reports, vendor bids, and bylaws. You don't wing it. The outcome of that pep work is shorter, highly efficient meetings and the proactive management of your multi-million-dollar reserve fund. The trade-off is steep. You are sacrificing significant personal time to do unglamorous homework. The defining work of a successful director is finished in private, long before the meeting gavel ever drops. Beyond the time commitment, serving on the board requires severe emotional discipline to maintain consistency and uphold the rule of law. The input is the strict necessity to enforce rules, adhere to fine schedules, and conduct hearings uniformly, without personal bias. This maintains trust and legally protects the community, but costs you the luxury of looking the other way. That discipline leads straight into the next core pillar, the fiduciary mindset. Every choice must serve the collective whole, not any individual resident. You must make difficult financial choices to adequately fund reserves, ensuring property values are protected over a 10-year timeline. The trade-off means permanently abandoning personal agendas and losing the ability to hand contracts to friends. Fiduciary leadership requires making objective, math-based decisions. It will often make you unpopular this week, but it guarantees the financial health of the community for the next decade. There is one final, highly demanding psychological requirement for board service: unity in governance. A board is a collective body. No single member, not even the president, holds an ounce of individual authority outside of a majority vote. Once a vote passes, every member must step out of that meeting room and publicly back the final decision. You have to swallow your pride, leave your ego at the door, and execute policies you fiercely argued against just 10 minutes earlier. A fractured, complaining board breeds chaos among the homeowners. A united front is the only way to provide clear, legally safe direction to your management partners. Look at those strict trade-offs and objectively evaluate your own temperament. Are you actually board material? This decision tree asks the core question: what is your primary motivation for wanting to volunteer? If you are motivated by a single issue, or if you are a people pleaser who is terrified of conflict, you should not run. Operating with those motivations inevitably leads to massive burnout, ruined neighbor relationships, and potential legal liabilities. However, if you are an analytical, long-term thinker, genuinely willing to learn state statutes and pore over dense contracts, you are the ideal candidate. This candidate manages the community with the same rigor required of a complex business entity, prioritizing structural health over social convenience. Accepting these legal and social trade-offs elevates your contribution to a role that definitively secures your community's future.